How's it going, everyone? So basically, I'm going to continue on the fourth lesson in the Likutei Moharan. It's what chapter is it? The fifth chapter in the fourth lesson. I'm just going to give a little summary, just a real short one, to kind of tie it all in, so we can continue from there. So basically, in the first lesson, we spoke about the power of the Torah, the strength of the Torah, that it has this ability. It's actually a combination of Torah and Tefillah. Both first and second lesson are, but the main idea in the first lesson is speaking about the strength that the Torah has from within it. And the type of Torah Reb Nachman's talking about over here, he makes it much clearer in the second lesson, is Torah of Dafka, of the things that a person fell in. Not the Torah that, the just studying Torah or keeping mitzvahs, but actually the Torah where a person falls in the mitzvot lo ta'aseh, the don't do's, and he falls over there, and if he can just redeem those sparks of holiness and bring that onto himself, right, he reconnects between the chet and the nun, which is the mind and the heart, which correspond to the sun and the moon, and the malchut, the kingdom, right? So in order for a person to run his kingdom and be the son of the king, like Yaakov Avinu took away the firstborn from Esav, and through that he stayed the son of the king. In order for him to do that, he has to, tap into what's called Esek HaTorah Bekoach, right? And Koach, Reb Nachman had a different Torah, and Reb Natan also expands on it. We spoke about it in the Halachas of Pesach. Is talking about this, the potential of the Torah, which means the not the actual Torah like befall in action, but the source where Torah comes from, like the river, right? But the source where this river of wisdom of the Torah comes from, which is this prayer. It's called Tehillah. Out of all the types of prayer and song there are, the different names, so they're brought in Yishtabach Shimcha. We have over there 13 different kinds of prayers. So the last number 10 actually is the Tehillah, which is the little Yud, the Tzaddik. It's Dafka on the number 10. And the Tehillah is a type of prayer that a person does in order to elevate and bring the words of the thing that he fell in, bring that Torah into words of prayer, and then find that nikuda of zchut from within it, and elevate the whole thing, which is what we brought in the second lesson, that for a person to come to his, the main weapon that a person needs in order to come to his final redemption, right? He calls it a weapon because it's like a fight against, the other side, is this prayer called Tehillah, right? That's the prayer that a person uses in order to subdue the other side and take all the sparks out. And the only way to do it is through remembering the covenant, which corresponds to Yisvat Tzaddik, and that a person can only do, right, if he receives it through Mishpat, which is the center line, always judging himself favorably, finding, that middle center line. And the way to do that Mishpat is through always finding the Nekuda of Tzaddik and justifying himself in the judgment. And then we said a person needs to combine the two, Torah and Tefillah, and bring these words of Torah up in prayer, in a vidui before Hashem, and through that basically he's building his Mishkan. Every person builds a Mishkan, like an altar, like what they did in the desert. They built a Mishkan, and once there was a Mishkan, then Hashem started speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu. So every person can build, if he uses his da'at, right, he uses his Moshe Rabbeinu lifted the Mishkan, right, he put the whole Mishkan together. So a person can build a Mishkan, build his Malchut Kedusha, what's called, his kingdom of holiness, which is this aspect of building the Mishkan. He can do it through this process of prayer. And then in the third lesson we mentioned the idea of these two different melodies that there are that are playing from within every person, and where these melodies, they correspond to these birds. And these these birds is where the prophets receive their prophecy. So this is talking about that aspect of after a person does do this tikkun and reunifies, right? Starts doing this video and reunifies between his mind and his heart, then he starts hearing this melody, right? So in the galut, in exile, when a person doesn't have it, he's hearing the negative melody. And when he has this reunification, he's hearing both melodies, right? But the main one that he's hearing is the positive one that's always playing. When he hears a negative melody, he also translates that into a positive one. And he doesn't hear the negative from within it, like we said about David HaMelech, which corresponds to the Malchut, the fixing the Melech HaMashiach, right? That he was anointed by the prophet, right? The prophet came and anointed him, so that in order to bring down this prophecy onto your Malchut, onto your kingdom, it depends on being able to mamish hear these two melodies and hear the bad melody and translate it into a good melody. And realizing that all the negative, all the bad is also from Hashem, it's part of Hashem, it's all just for the test. And in the fourth lesson, we started off saying that the way, when a person, knows that everything that goes on in his life, the ups that he's having, right, and especially the downs when he's crashing and falling and things, he realizes that it's all from Hashem. That's mamish like a taste of the coming world, when a person can tap into that and realize that it's just tap into that oneness. And that's mamish the fixing of the Malchut of Kedusha, for a person to really be in control of his entire being, and kind of his da'at, his wisdom will run his body and run the show, and guide him. His mind guides his body in the world, what to do and where to go. Through that, and the way to get to that fixing of the Malchut is through vidui dvarim. That a person does this vidui dvarim, he takes these words, these letters of Torah that were flipped, and because he went over a sin, right? So the Torah says to do it a certain way, and he did the opposite. He in the physical world, he did the opposite, so it's considered like he flipped those letters, and now things need to be put back into the right order, in order for the Malchut to get fixed. And basically, step by step, vidu by vidu, a person slowly starts fixing it. And when a person gets to this understanding that the good and the bad that's going on in his life is really all part of his building of his Malchut, because like we said, a person can't attain any levels unless he has something like a force against that's preventing him and stopping him, holding him back, and he fights against it. That's how he builds himself. So the true fixing of the Malchut, on a personal level, and every person, in business or the whole, countries or whatever, the whole world scale, the building of the Malchut Mamish depends on having that difficulty and those challenges, and that's how a person really comes out the other side stronger and builds the Malchut. And on the level that we were talking about, based on Torah Aleph Bet, and is basically the fixing of the Malchut, that your entire kingdom, your Malchut, the light of your being, your whole body depends on getting those sparks from the other side. That's mamish that's the key, the secret, and that's the melody itself. Because once a person gets those sparks and they become a part of him, that's when he starts hearing the song. So now we're going to go into the 5th chapter. ועווונותיו של אדם הם על עצמותיו, כמו שכתוב, ותהי עווונותם חקוקה על עצמותם. So the sins of a person, they're on his bones, like it says in Yechezkel 32, that their sins were al atzmotam. In Yechezkel it says, Vati avonotam al atzmotam, their sins were on their bones. Over here, Reb Nachman throws in an extra word, which is a word from the first lesson, and he also brings it in the 4th lesson 8 times, he also brings it 8 times in the first lesson. So obviously Reb Nachman is trying to tell us something here. I looked into the different, sources in Yechezkel, and further on he brings different sources to try find this word chakukah. And basically what Reb Nachman is teaching over here is that not that the actual, when a person does a sin, so that sin goes in like it's engraved. It's also engraved. Chakuk means engraved, so like the sin is engraved in his bones. But chakukah, it comes from the word of choku mishpat, lachkok chukah, to make a chakikah means an engravement, but it also means when the government makes, or the king makes a certain law, like this is a chok, right? This is what it is. That's why law is called a chok. So chakukah means that the sins, they create on top of a person's bones, right? His bones is his essence, right? His whole shilda, like his whole, bones, and the marrow of the bones, right, is like your brain. The marrow is moach, and the moach is what keeps the brain alive. So it's your actual essence. So atzmotam is talking also about a person's essence. That what happens is when a person does sins, so he basically gives the firstborn rights to the other side. Like because he falls into a state of sadness and atzvut, and starts bashing himself because of it, and feeling far and distant from Hashem. What happens is he starts engraving from within his essence. He puts this rulership of the other side on top of him, that the other one's in charge, right? Because the other one, look, he's overcoming me all the time. I'm trying to do the right thing, and I keep falling into the things that I can't overcome it, right? So the sins make from within his bones, from within his essence, this type of like puts him down and makes him feel second. So he's the servant of the servant maid. He's not the son of the servant maid and not the son of the king. So that's what it means. That it becomes like a law, like a chok that's on top of his essence. Now there's something on top of him, ruling over him. Right, the other side's ruling. Every single one of the sins that a person does has obviously a combination of letters from within the Torah. Those letters are the malchut, the building, because we said the building of a person's kingdom all depends on the fixing of his speech. That's also how you run your kingdom. So when a person does an avera, goes over something, so he gets engraved, right, this law, right, of a tzeruf, a bad combination on his essence, on his bones. It gets engraved on him. So he basically puts his head down and starts walking around feeling like he's not the son of the king anymore, because look what I did. I mean, the king said not to do this and I did it, right? So he falls into this state, realizing or not realizing it's something that's happening from within his mamish, his essence. And I also looked just to see where this idea comes from. So if you look in the parsha of Yaakov and Esav, we see that this was when Yaakov took the firstborn rights from Esav, and then he went and put the garments of Esav on and went and took the brachas, took all the blessings. So over there, when Esav suddenly comes in and says, "Here I am, I brought the food," and Yitzchak Avinu says, "What do you mean? Who came in here? I just gave all the blessings to your brother." So he starts crying, whatever. He says, "You don't have any blessings." So he gives him a bracha, and he says, "Vaya kasher tarid ufarakta ulo me'al tzavarecha." Right. So Rashi over there says that basically, when Am Yisrael, when Yaakov Avinu falls from keeping the Torah and mitzvahs, right? Then Esav is going to have he's going to be able to stand up and say, "Hey, what about you? He took the firstborn rights, right? He only deserves them if he acts like the firstborn, right? If he acts like the son of the king. But as soon as he's going over sins, then he doesn't deserve to be the son of the king, right? So Esav now suddenly has rulership on him. So that's the source of what Reb Nachman is bringing over here. Because it's obviously the word, like we said, the word chakika, it's obviously connected to the same word in the first lesson. So this whole idea stems from Yaakov and Esav. This is where the source of this idea comes from. And so Esav has that rulership on top of you when a person falls into this contracted state of mind. And he suddenly has this rulership, this chok, this law over him, which is giving this firstborn rights to the other side. Just it's an inner an inner weakness that a person's essence, his neshama, gets from the sins themselves. And through this, a person takes the words, right? It basically takes the malchut, the sparks of holiness, the malchut, the kingdom. He takes these words and letters and words, and he puts them into the other side, the tuma. Hainu, in other words, Rav Nachman is explaining, shemachnis bechinat malchut, he puts this aspect of kingdom, of malchut, of rulership, he puts it, right, which is the aspect of dabar echad ledol, like we said, it's a ruler, a manhig, right, the ruler of a country. He machnis ota letoch ha'akum v'noten lahem memshala. He puts it into the other side, this rulership, this firstborn, right, he puts it into the other side and gives them memshala, gives them, they rule over him, gives them strength. למשל, אם עבר על דבר עליו, על דיבור של עליו לא יהיה לך, like he gives an example here, like if a person went over the commandment of not having other gods, right? So it's actually a continuation of the pasuk that this whole Torah starts on, right? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem Yudke Vavke, your Elokim, your God. Asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim, that I took you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And then it says, Lo yeh lecha elokim achrim al panai, that you shall not have other gods on top of my face, right? So Nachman gives an example. If a person goes over this, right, and he's going through things, he's not seeing, he looks at something and thinks that it's just the physical thing, object. He doesn't look at he doesn't connect it to that there's godliness from within this thing, right? So if a person, that's called covering up Hashem's face that's from within, the physical world. That's the source of life. So if he just looks at it as like something physical without realizing this, some pnimiut, no matter what it is, right? The biggest sin, the biggest idol worship in the world has from within it a source of life, a source of chiyut, that's coming from Hashem, from Shem Elokim, the hidden face. But nevertheless, it's godliness. So if a person sees just the outside, it's going over this love of other gods, right? He's covering up Hashem's face. So what happens when a person falls in that thing? Azai machriv hatzeruf hatov shel hadibur ubonet tzeruf ra. So he destroys, right? He destroys the combination, the good combination of the letters, right? Which means that positive combination, right? The tzeruf also comes from the word of like kesef tzaruf, which is, when you take silver or whatever, you put it in the fire and you take out all the, the garbage, and you just get like the perfect, Tzaruf means that you get out mamish just the good from within it. So if a person has this dibur, this speech of, a good speech, positive speech, right, by keeping Torah and mitzvahs and always being positive, and even when he falls, being positive, so he has this good tziruf from within his, good combination of letters from within his malchut, and that's how he runs his kingdom. And if a person goes over it, right, so he destroys that good combination of words, of letters, that malchut, that kingdom, that feeling, like the feeling of firstborn, and he builds from within a tzeruf ra. He makes a tzeruf, a bad combination. And the bad combination is that tape of the Rasha playing from within him, right, of that you're not worthy and you fell and this and that, right? Every person and their own issues. So that's what the example Reb Nachman gives. And this tziruf, this combination of letters, right, of this negative tape that's playing from within him, where the other side is like ruling over him, it gets engraved, right, from within his bones, and it's nokembo, and it revenges him, which means, in other words, like Esav's taking revenge in Yaakov, right? It says right over there in the parsha afterwards that Esav wanted to kill Yaakov, right? And straight away Yaakov realized, okay, I gotta quickly go and take off, and he went to learn Torah, and then he went to Lavan to subdue Lavan, and then he comes back years later to Esav and then subdues Esav as well, right? But Esav wanted to revenge him, so as soon as a person falls in something, right, and he gives the memshala, the firstborn rights to the other side, right, and by Esav he got the other side because he wasn't subdued completely. The angel of Esav wasn't subdued till when Yaakov came back from Lavan. So Esav still had koyach, and he wanted to revenge Yaakov. So it's the same idea over here. It's not exactly the same, but it's the same idea where when a person falls in chatai, in sins, and gives them that strength, and gives them, falls in his mind, and it gets weak. So he's basically they want to like revenge him. They want to basically take over completely, like we see also by Ishmael, that it says that Ishmael, when Yaakov was when Yitzchak was born, Ishmael was shooting. It says tzachek. So one opinion says that he was shooting arrows at him. Another one was saying, "You're not going to be the firstborn. I'm taking the firstborn right." He was like mamish giving him a hard time, and revenging him, trying to get rid of him, because he realized the word was getting around that, hey, the covenant that Hashem made with Avram Avinu, that his offspring is going to get the land and so on. It's not going to you, Ishmael. It's going to Yitzchak. And the word got around. And Ishmael started getting upset about this and started doing, bad things to Yitzchak. So that's this idea. Like he brings two psukim, like it says in Yirmiyah, chapter 5, Avnotechem hitu ele, that your sins are the things that hitu means that like strayed you off the pathway. So that's what caused you to go off the pathway. Is the sins. And I just saw that the combination, the numerical value of the two words hitu ele, is chen, is the mind and the heart, right? The connecting that chen. So the reason is hitu ele, the things that separated between the mind and the heart are the sins. That's the thing. It's not that the sin itself is separating, because we said the light, the sparks of kedusha from within the sin, that's the thing that reconnects my heart and my mind. So it's not that the sins themselves that a person does is what creates a separation between him and Hashem, between his mind and his heart. It's the falling in his mind into atzvus and katnut, and feeling down and giving the firstborn rights, giving that chair to Esav, to the other side, right, and walking around feeling like he's second. So that's what creates the separation, not the sins themselves. Uchtiv timotet rasha ra'a. And another pasuk he brings from Tehillim that the bad is what makes the Rasha fall. So a person who's always speaking bad, right, and putting himself down, not just, so Reb Nachman's not giving if we say the Rasha over here is a person who does Averas, sins, then it's exactly what, the first pasuk. One of them was from Yirmiyah, the second one's from Tehillim. So the second pasuk that Reb Nachman is bringing is coming to teach a different idea. It's coming to teach about that Rasha, when a person, instead of being the tzaddik and justifying himself, he's doing the exact opposite. When he falls into sins, he starts bashing himself. And by bashing himself, he straight away gives the firstborn rights to the other side. And by a person doing this vidui that we spoke about, through that he takes out all of the letters from within his bones, from within his essence, the ones that are engraved, this bad tape, negative tape that's playing from within him. He uproots them and takes them out. And those letters of the sin, right, whatever the combination of letters that were, right, that went into his being and were playing this negative tape, this bad tape, because it's all the memories that a person has. The whole list of negative things or things that hold people back is basically just a whole list of a bunch of actual things that happen at a certain time, right? Specific things that's what's holding him back. So he takes that thing out and he speaks, it brings it into vidui, speaks to Hashem before it, right? And he finds the nekuda of mitzvah, and he believes emunah shlema, with full faith in the covenant, that Hashem will mamish flip the entire thing, and he judges it, finds that point in nekuda of good, judges it favorably, and it's gone. It becomes now a part of his being. He did proper tshuva on it, it's out of the way, and he starts getting the light from it. And it's one thing off of the list, another thing off of the list. And slowly what happens is a person takes, because those things on the list are all combinations of letters, and the letters we said is the speech, is the malchut, right? So it's these thoughts that are going, it's a thought process that's going on in a person's mind. These are actual letters that were brought in because of certain actions that he did. Went over certain letters in the Torah that say don't do, he did, right, with actions. But it's basically these actions, these letters, this malchut is playing from within him, and he needs to take it out and slowly start getting rid of it and flipping it and building now, instead of the other side is tape playing and them having the firstborn rights and this rulership over him, he starts taking the rulership back. And the way he does it is through this process of vidui dvarim. Ki hadibur, and the reason why this works this way is ki hadibur yotzeh me'atzmotav k'mo shekatuv kol atzmotai tamarna. The speech itself, when a person speaks, it comes out of the bones. Like when a person speaks, it mamish comes out of his bones, out of his essence. K'mo shekatuv kol atzmotai tamarna. Like it says that all my bones, tamarna, they speak. Umachriva binyan v'atzeruf hara. And through doing this process of vidui and bringing the sins into words, he destroys the building, all right, of this bad combination of letters that are creating this negative, picture and tape, and from within memories, bad memories and stuff from within him, that's creating this whole, negativity from within him. Uboneh mehem malchut kedusha, and he starts building again the malchut of kedusha, the kingdom of holiness. So again, over here, Reb Nachman uses another word called binyan, that by doing this, he destroys the building of the malchut of the other side, the kingdom, the rulership of the other side. He destroys it and he builds malchut kedusha. So the building here also, Reb Nachman brought in the second lesson, where he said that when we bring together all the tefillas that people daven, each one of them is like a little brick, a little piece of the Mishkan that we built in the desert, and we're bringing them, and slowly we're building the binyan until this building of the Mishkan gets complete, and then Mashiach will come, a person will come to his final redemption. So again, we see Reb Nachman keeps tying it in to make sure that you stay with the idea that we're talking about, which type of Torah and Tefillah, this whole vidui, the building of the Mishkan, the prophecy that we're going to receive through these birds, right, the two tapes playing. It's important to stay as much as you could. It's linked in probably thousands and thousands of places, but it's just hard to see it all. This is what the rabbis teach us in the Gemara of Sotah, that when Am Yisrael were walking in the desert, so the bones of Yehuda the son of Yaakov Avinu, Yehuda, his bones were megulgalin. They weren't, because when they brought Yosef HaTzadik out of Egypt, his bones, they brought all of the, it says, "Alitem et atzmotai itchem mizeh," that you should bring out your bones, my bones, with you guys. So from there, Chazal learned that they actually brought out the bones from Egypt of all the 12 tribes, and Yehuda's bones were all like mitparkin. They were rattling in the aron as they were carrying it. They were all shaking. They were broken apart into pieces. So Chazal say that when we were walking in the desert, the bones of Yehuda were all broken apart until Moshe Rabbeinu came and said before Hashem, he said a vidu and said, Shema Hashem kol Yehuda. Hashem listened to the call, to the voice of Yehuda, the speech of Yehuda. Shebikesh Moshe Rabbeinu was asking Hashem that he should remember the vidui that he sheidvada. He should remember the vidui when Yehuda fell or whatever happened over there with Tamar, and then Tamar got pregnant, and he found out she was pregnant, right? And he said, take her out. She needs to be burnt. That's the halacha. A woman who's like a eshet isha, she's married, right? She has to be sreifa. I don't know why there wasn't witnesses, or maybe there was. I don't know. Anyhow, so and then she sent the signs, the ptila, his stamp, his staff, right? She sent and said, I'm pregnant to this person, and it was his, and he saw this, and he was sitting at the time in the Beis Din over there with Yaakov Avinu, and I think Shem was there, Shem or Ever. Like mamish, a lot of the big tzaddikim, leaders of the generation, were over there, and he stood up and he said, Tzadkai mimeni, and he admitted over there, on the spot, that it was from him. She got pregnant from him. And when he did that, Reuven, who earlier took the bed when after Rachel passed away, so Reuven took the bed. I think Yaakov Avinu put the bed in the tent of the servant maid, and Reuven got upset and took the bed and put it in the tent of Leah, of his mother. So he didn't want his mother to be disrespected in that kind of way. And he never really admitted. Rashi says that he did tshuva on his own, but he never actually came and admitted it in public. So when Yehuda did this, Reuven was there, and he stood up and said, I was the one who did move the bed. So we see that Moshe Rabbeinu is admitting, he's bringing this vidui, these words of Yehuda, and telling Hashem, remember this vidui that Yehuda did, v'chen havele, and he was fixed. His bones were fixed. It really worked. Also, havile is the chen, which means he reconnected, because he was in a type of a nidui. I'm not sure what the word is for nidui. I was trying to think about it earlier. But nidui is like his menudeh. When the rabbis make somebody menudeh, you're not allowed to speak to him. You can't do business with him. He's a nidui, right? So Yehuda, because he told his father that if I don't bring Binyamin back to you, it'll be considered that I'll be sin before you all my days. So kol hayamim means also for the next world. So even after he passed away, he didn't have a settlement, which means he didn't have this reunification between the Yud-K and the Vav-K, right? His soul was like, his nefesh was stuck down here and didn't have a fixing. So v'chen havele is chen, which means there was a reunification when Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned this vidui that Yehuda admitted on his sin. He did a certain sin, and he admitted that he fell. V'zeh davka atzmotav, and that's what Chazal, the rabbis, teach us, that it says that his bones were megulgalin, were like falling apart. Hashem v'ti avonotam chakukal atzmotam, because we said the sins are mamish engraved inside a person's essence. So the sins, right? It was affecting mamish his bones, which means his essence. There was a problem with his essence. He couldn't do a tikkun on his essence. So a person, on a personal level, what's my essence? My reunification between my mind and my heart, right? That's the whole exile that I have right now, is those two aren't connected. So by Yehuda, it fixed his essence, right? So that's why it says that his bones were rolling, right? Meaning his bones, his essence was fallen apart, or begulgalin, meaning they were fallen apart. They weren't together. All the bones were separated. There was no reunification between his mamish, his essence, which is his neshama and his when you're alive, it's your neshama in your heart, right? Your being, and when you pass away, it's a person chas v'shalom. There's different things that if a person does or doesn't do, right, his soul could get stuck down here and can't go back up to where it needs to go. That's the whole mitzvah of yibum, when a brother dies without children, so his brother marries, marries the wife to try bring his soul back down because his soul's stuck here. Whatever. There's other things as well that the neshama, the soul, could get stuck down. So where are we? And through this vidui, this process of vidui, all of his bones, mamash, everything went back to its exact place, right? So each one of the bones, right, is like the building of the Mishkan, right? It's because we said that the words, the letters, the malchut, it's from within the bones. It's like your essence. So it says that after Moshe Rabbeinu did this prayer, this vidui, and told Hashem, remember this vidui that Yehuda admitted, right, and so on. So through that, mamash, all of his bones came back, and each one went back into its original place, how it's supposed to be. And again, Rabbeinu uses kol chad leduchte, each one to its place that it needed to be. It's the same as in the second lesson, where he was talking about when we're lifting the different parts of the Mishkan and putting together the Mishkan to build this Mishkan and build the Malchut Kedusha. So he's using the same word over here, because this is mamash all talking about this idea of building your kingdom, right? Coming to that mamash, being the son of the king and ruling over your entire being, not letting the other side, not by becoming the biggest tzaddik and keeping everything and that, no, just by starting to play the tzaddik tape from within you, starting to, every time you fall, you take it, you justify, you bring the sin before Hashem, you find the Nekuda Tova from within it, you justify the whole thing, and you keep moving forward and forward. You don't fall into sadness and atzvut because of it. And it doesn't mean you're not going to have moichin dekatent, where you go through a state of a lack of light and stuff like that. B'ezrat Hashem, Reb Nachman has plenty of eitzas and different advice to do to get out of those states, or how to deal with it from within those states of down and darkness, a lack of light, because we all have to go through ups and downs. So it's not that, it's not that once you get this process, you're never going to be in a down. You're just slowly, you're redeeming more and more sparks from the other side, from all the sins. That's basically what it is. And as a person does it, his memory starts coming back. So it's a process, it's a slow process. It says in the Prophet, it's going to be like the redemption of a person, his own Mashiach, is going to be like a tiny little stream that's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And that's like the moon filling up, right? Until it gets a full moon, and then it's not going to go back down. That'll be like the Mashiach times. So that process is like, every time he takes, a little bit of sparks out of the other side from a certain sin from the past, or soon Reb Nachman is going to show that how you can actually, from here we learn you can fix sins from the past, and it's not just, from now on, whatever you fell, you have to fix now, and if the day passes, it's in the past, how could you fix it? And the reason, we'll see, Reb Nachman is going to bring it, we'll explain the reason then, hopefully. So Remez, that was up until now, we learned about this whole process with Yehuda and Moshe Rabbeinu bringing the whole thing, but what's it coming to teach us? So it's a Remez. Yehuda corresponds to Malchut Kedusha. So it's this aspect of Malchut Kedusha gets fixed through doing a Vidui Dvarim, through bringing the words of the sin into speech, and this is done through Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu, we said, corresponds to the dot, right? He corresponds to that power you have of that tzaddik from within your mind that could mamish redeem your entire being. V'shezachal Moshe vidui ki ken tzarich. That Moshe Rabbeinu was the one who mentioned this vidui that Yehuda did when he was alive years ago. Ki ken tzarich. This is the way it needs to be done. Sheyeh vidui lifnei talmid chacham. That the vidui has to be done before a talmid chacham. Which means when a person does a vidui, it has to be to the face of the Talmid Chacham. When you're a vidui is when a person fell into a sin. He needs to now come and speak about the sin and tell Hashem, I did this and that, right? So when you're standing before Hashem, you have to make sure that vidui is done to the face, meaning looking at the face of the Talmid Chacham, and not on the other side, not looking at the face of the sin itself. But exactly where the Yetzer Hara wants you to look at the sin you fell in and how bad you are, not to look at that face. But the mamish, the vidui needs to be before a Talmid Chacham, which means the Talmid Chacham is that face of the tzaddik, that little nekuda of tzaddik, through that you justify yourself. So that's very important to remember, it always has to be done, the vidui, lifnei Talmid Chacham, to the face of the Talmid Chacham. That's always the face you're looking for, searching, like Reb Nachman says in Reish Pei Bet. Person needs to mamish dig and search until he finds that. It's not easy. There's a lot of sins that it's very hard to find. How is there like a nakuda of mitzvah from within it, right? So that's why he says over there, you really need to search for it. But it needs to be done to the face of the Talmid Chacham. V'chol talmid chacham, and every talmid chacham, meaning every nekuda of good, nekuda of mitzvah, u bechinat Moshe, is the aspect of Moshe. Why? Because we said that the building of the kingdom, right, the Malchut, the Gedusha, has no light from itself. The only light that the Malchut receives is from the light that it gets, all the sparks of holiness that fell from a person's mistakes. That's where he gets the light. And that light is what is mashlim his da'at, his wisdom. His wisdom, his da'at becomes whole and complete. That Moshe Rabbeinu completion of da'at, right, that you could really run your entire kingdom, all depends on getting those sparks out. So each one of those sparks of holiness, right, is, of course, it's the aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because the shleimut of your da'at, the completion of your da'at, depends on them. Moshe Amru, like it says, Moshe Shapir Ka'amart. Moshe, when in the Gemara, when the rabbi would say words, right? Words, again, it's the Malchut. Say words, nice words, good words. They would say Moshe Shapir Ka'amart. His name wasn't Moshe. His name was Rabbah or different, right? But they would say Moshe Shapir Ka'amart, right? Moshe, which means your da'at. That's what they were telling the rabbi. Your Moshe, which means your da'at, said, speaks nicely, like a good speech comes out of your mouth, which means that's what da'at corresponds to. So anything that has to do with good speech, right, finding that nekuda of mitzvah and justifying yourself, not looking at all the bad from within, whatever it is, you're finding dafka the good, that's an aspect of Moshe, because it's a building of your da'at, a building of your staying the firstborn and keeping that rulership in your hands and not giving it to the other side by falling into depression. So I just want to expand on that a little bit, because I'm sure a lot of people would have a hard time that I'm explaining the Talmid Chacham and Moshe and this, that it's all talking about the Nekuda of good. People always think Talmid Chacham, you're talking about. I only came to this because it's simply Reb Nachman changes the wording in a lot of Torahs around, from Talmid Chacham, Rav Dikdusha, Moshe, Mashiach. He's always changing names, and we know that Mamish, especially the Torahs that were written by hand by Reb Nachman, he said you could medaktek like in the Torah, like there isn't an extra letter, like it's mamish everything. Like Reb Nachman said sometimes he was writing and take out a letter, add a word, add a letter. Like Reb Nachman, everything is medukdak. So if he's using 2-3 different names to supposedly speak about Moshe Rabbeinu, there's something going on here. He's got to be talking about different aspects. כמו שאמרו משה שפיר כאמרת, וזה שזכר משה הווידוי נעשה כאילו התוודה עכשיו לפני Moshe. So by Moshe, right, by bringing this vidui, these words of the sin that a person fell into, he's bringing it before Hashem. He's bringing it up to his da'at, right? He's reminding his da'at, right? You don't forget. It's very easy to go after that tape of the negative, right? Of all the bad that a person did. And, it could be bad in sins, it could be bad in things he's not, successful in life or whatever it is. But it's very easy to just listen to that tape. It kind of comes naturally, that one. So it's important that a person brings the little nakuda of tzaddik, brings it to his mind all the time. And it's a work you have to do. And you have to remind yourself again and again and again, like tons of times. And slowly, you're going to start playing. And by doing, of course, taking those words out, taking that tape out. Each time you take a little bit of the tape out, you bring it out, you bring it into words, you put it back in order. You say, okay, I'm judging this thing favorably. I wasn't chayav in the deen, and it wasn't bad. Like I think someone told me that they have an actual therapy where you go and they mamish take you and they get you to talk about the whole thing that you have a trauma from or whatever. And then I can't remember the name of this type of therapy. And the person told me it really works. And then they make you like speak about, find positive nikudas from within it. Have these positive and speak and mamish start living some positive points from within this trauma, and then it mamish heals it. And it's exactly the same concept that we're talking about. Mamish the same. The havdil, right? But it's the same, because it's all a fixing of the soul on different levels, fixing of the being, of the malchut. ונעשה כאילו התוודה עכשיו לפני משה. ובזה שזכה משה הווידוי, so it's considered, right, this is where Reb Nachman over here is answering, how is it that you could fix a sin from the past? Because the Arizal says that, it's not an easy thing to do. If a person, misses things, that's the whole point of doing, your vidui and mentioning your sins before you go to sleep, and not letting days go by, because as time goes by, it gets more and more difficult. It is possible to fix, but it gets more and more difficult to fix something on the day that it happened is a very easy fixing. It's an easy process. But if when time goes by, it's harder. So Rav Nachman's bringing over here, showing that Moshe Rabbeinu was fixing, Yehuda's sin that he did years before, right? That it's something that you can do. And by Moshe Rabbeinu, by the da'at, just remembering and bringing up this vidui of this sin and finding the nakuda of good from within it, it was considered like Yehuda was right now doing the vidui before Moshe, which means like Yehuda brought this vidui up to his da'at. And through that, the aspect of kingdom, of malchut, of your rulership, right? The aspect of the malchut of the other side gets destroyed, and the bad tziruf, that bad combination, which created another part of that tape playing bad from within me, gets destroyed and wiped out, and it gets uprooted from within his bones. Just want to see one thing. Yeah, so basically saying like the same way Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the vidui, and it was considered like Yehuda was saying the vidui right now before Moshe Rabbeinu. So from that we learn that a person could bring to his da'at something that was even from the past, right? He brings a vidui and speaks words of something that happened. As long as he connects it to that nekuda of tzaddik, of his da'at of Moshe, he could fix it even right now, even though it was something that's far, far behind. Like it's separated from where his mind is. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu is over here in the desert, and Yehuda is like, this thing happened, I don't know how many years before, long time before. What time is it? Yeah, I think we're going to have to stop. We didn't get very far, but yeah, time-wise, maybe we could go a little bit more. No, I think we'll stop. I don't want to have to rush through it. Right, yeah. Okay, anyhow, take care, guys, and I don't know if I'm going to do another one before Pesach. If I don't, have an awesome, amazing, highest Pesach. Should be the holiest, filled with joy and simcha and just lots of singing. It should be the most awesome, amazing Pesach. Hag Sameach.